Hello, everyone, and welcome to AmericanScouser's Premier League panel show, where we hang out with fans from different teams, get some different perspectives, and make fun of Arteta all together to have a good old time every week over here. Arteta and his Lego head. So we'll talk a lot about that stuff. We do have Shay making his debut appearance, representing Villa out of Memphis. Shay, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
And then we have Alan representing Arsenal out of Chicago, where we've had beautiful weather. I always bitch about weather, so people say I always bitch about weather, so I gotta call it when it's nice. It's been nice over here. How was life on the Arsenal side of things?
A 2-2 draw was not indicative of how poorly we played.
I know. I was really looking forward to having Alex again this week because he represents Fulham, and I know we talked about this game last week. Even he was not that optimistic. But I do have to give him props. He specially mentioned that I should give him props for backing me up to get a win against Villa. Against Newcastle. Hopefully he'll back me against Villa later today when I make that prediction. So let's get right to it. But before we kind of go to the score, Shay, we never got to talk to you and talked about Arsenal. Talk about Villa in terms of what you're seeing to happen this year and stuff like that. You guys made some really good moves. We've talked before, when you were on the morning show about Emery and stuff like that. So what is the outlook you have so far for the season? And what do you think is the goal should be for Villa?
Yeah, for sure. So the opening match, everybody saw, losing Tyrone to an ACL injury, just like me, that was just giving me flashbacks. I was like, yeah, I just did this a week ago. So I feel your pain, Tyrone. But yeah, losing that match, it was pretty bad. I think just losing him, the whole team just kind of lost at that point. And Newcastle are a good team. There's no sugarcoating it. They're a very good team now. Hal's got them playing really well. And then after you saw that, we had our first European match, sat there and won a 5-0 win. Started winning the last two Prem matches against Everton and Burnley. So looking good. I think Emery ball is finally coming into full effect. I think we absolutely got a steal in buying Diaby. I think he should have been way more than what we paid for him because that guy is an absolute baller. Some predictions. I honestly think we should do very well in the Conference League now that Juventus is no longer in it. Truly, we are one of the better teams in that. And I hope that he goes 100% for that. And I know he wanted to win some of the domestic cups, but I'd rather win the European Conference League and finish in the top 7 in the league. That way we're still safe. So, the domestic cups can come. I'd rather focus on that just with the squad having so many major ACL injuries. And like you said, today we did just sign Lindley from Barca on loan as cover for the season. So we'll see what happens the next 2 days. I know we got 2 days left in the transfer window.
Yeah, it looked like that is needed, right? Because, seeing Pau Torres, it was what do you think of him so far? Because obviously he came in for Mings, maybe called into action earlier than they thought. He almost looks nuts up to the pace of the Premier League yet somehow.
Yeah, and that's with every player, when they come over for the first time. And then, like I said, for the Newcastle game, they basically threw him in there. They're like, hey, the captain just went down. You have to come in and cover, and you have not played with any of these guys yet. But I think after we saw the last 3 matches, he finally settled in. And honestly, as a center back, his passing range is ridiculous to me. So somebody that actually plays in the back the whole time that can ping balls like that is crazy. And I've never seen a center back at Villa do that before. So it's crazy to see how much quality has been brought in the last 2 years compared to where we were after the whole Jack situation. So
yeah, and I think it's been smart moves too. And I think you guys have a really good coach. I am kind of worried about this game, to be honest with you, this week against Liverpool, just because Emery knows how to kind of pack it up and kind of stop us from going. But at the same time, Liverpool is a whole different team too. It's not the same midfield. Shit, we're not used to it. I don't expect Emery to be. So it's kind of a lot going on there. So let's get to the week over here. Week 3 is in the books. Quite a few surprises over here. Alan, give me one that you were what the hell when you saw the score or when you watched the game, aside from your game.
Oh, aside from my game. You know what? Aside from my game, I think the biggest surprise was how well the fight Nottingham Forest put up against United. They went up 2-0 very quick on. I think it might have been too early for them to go up 2-0. They felt the pressure right after that. United then dig deep to get a result and actually draw the match. Then the red card happened and the penalty happened as well, and they got the third goal. And then I think Nottingham Forest as well scored a third goal, but it was disallowed in VAR. So
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'd give it to Nottingham for trying their best against a really good, well, not a really good United team, but a decent United team.
A United team. Yeah, I mean, I remember when we were talking about it, and I even said, Forest, if they get an early lead, they might be able to turn the stadium, turn Old Trafford against the team with all the drama that was happening, especially at that time. There was a lot of the Greenwood chats and stuff like that. But I felt like they conceded that first goal way too early. If they finished half 2-0, I think that's when the stadium was going to turn. And I think giving up that goal gave hope. So Old Trafford stayed with the team. Otherwise, they almost ran away with it. United definitely does not look good. I think that's easy to see. Right next to him over there is.
Nana looks bad.
Nana does look bad. And you know what the funny thing is? Alan is with us. Good evening, Alan. They are selling Henderson, and they signed Altay Bayındır from Fenerbahçe, who is a young goalie, really good. I think really good with his feet and stuff, brutal in commanding the box and crosses. I really think he will struggle in the Premier League, especially in a team like that. He was the future for a while at Fenerbahçe, and for Turkey, just lost all his confidence. A new start might help him, but at the same time, man, I don't know. The Premier League, if it gives him some shakes, I think he's shown that he can play under pressure. So they're going to be in a world of hurt, I think, come January when they have to play Altay nonstop over there, unless they sign somebody else, which they're struggling to sign anybody right now. But how about you there, Shay? Any score that kind of gets your attention?
Yeah, honestly, the Brighton-West Ham match, just because Brighton started out the season on fire. I know they had their whole controversy with the whole Chelsea signings. But even West Ham, losing Declan Rice and then basically having to rebuild the whole team. And they come in and win 3-1, which was very surprising, especially how Brighton has been absolutely on fire. So it's good to see that they're still competitive. So
typical Moyes kind of game, right? They just sat back, but I mean, they have the bodies to counter. They have the quality to counter. I think they've done some smart moves over there with that Rice money they got out of Arsenal, and they're not missing him as much.
No, it was truly the same situation how Villa did it. You lose Jack, you sell him for 100 million, and then we ended up buying 3 or 4 players. So it stings in the beginning just because here's a kid that came through the academy, very influential, your captain, but we ended up buying 3 players out of it. They did too. So they basically rebuilt their whole midfield with selling 1 player, and it worked out because getting James Ward-Prowse, huge. The guy is a Premier League midfielder. Any free kick, it's almost automatic for the guy.
Yep.
Then getting Alvarez from, I think it was Ajax, really good midfielder as well. And then whoever they just signed recently too. So they got some really good rotational and really good depth. So
I think so too. I think they've done some smart moves with that money. Sometimes teams get that money and just go on a stupid shopping spree, and sometimes it's well spent. And I think they did spend it well. I was gonna go with that game too, actually. Out of the entire week, I would say. I mean, Liverpool now might look like the way it happened might look like a shocker there. But I think originally I was hoping to pull something off. Obviously, it's pretty incredible how Liverpool came up from being a man down. But yeah, West Ham winning that game. I really felt Villa would pull something out of Burnley, to be honest with you, because they played too open and Villa has too much quality. But West Ham was the shocker for me as well. So let me ask you guys about this Newcastle-Liverpool game. It was our game of the week. What do you guys make of it? Shay, let's start with you on this one. The comeback, does the credit go to? Does the blame go to Newcastle? Does the credit go to Liverpool? Does it go to Klopp?
I would say, yeah, definitely on Newcastle, because you lose that entire, what's the word? Momentum that they had. As soon as Van Dijk got sent off, they were flying. Second half comes, and then they basically turned it off. They were already up. You had the gas on the pedal. They let off. Like you said, even with a man down, Liverpool has too much quality, and that tells you a team with that much experience can still fight their way back. And I think Newcastle did not expect that. I think it was a very bad lapse in judgment from Eddie Howe. That was his first true mistake that we've seen of him. And I was honestly hilarious because, when I thought I was falling off the rails for Liverpool there for a second, I was like, here we go. Klopp is getting all angry. You lose your captain, and then they somehow pull it off. And when you all scored that last goal, it was just absolutely hysterical. I was like, there's no way this just.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering what your guys' reaction is. Dom is talking about that save that Alisson made out of an Almiron volley. That is a crazy, crazy save, and I think he gets. You don't want to say underrated because I think everybody says it, but I don't think he's talked about enough. I think in this game by itself, obviously when Nunez comes in and scores the goal, the entire talk was that. But not only, I keep going back to this, and I probably said this point 4 or 5 times now throughout the week as we talk about this game, but not only his saves, but how good he is with his feet kind of helps a 10-man team be able to absorb the press that Newcastle was doing like we were an 11-man team, because we were still able to build from the back at times because he's so comfortable. I know there has been a few mishaps with that, but you kind of have to take that when you're almost playing with 11 field players when you have Alisson back there. Yeah, definitely should be. I actually would have a man of the match. I know it's kind of hard not to give it to Nunez when he comes in and grabs the game, but yeah, that's why I kind of wanted to ask you guys, because obviously when we look at it, it was just a joy. I know, watching the beginning of the second half, it was kind of like watching a funeral. You don't know which way it's going to go. You knew it was going to be painful. But when it's 1-0, you're always in the game, right? Especially when you have the talent Liverpool has up top and the way Liverpool can counter. You have somebody like Mo up top and stuff like that. But, being 10 men, obviously, you didn't know how long they would last defensively, especially losing Van Dijk. It's not like you had your right winger get a red card or something like that. You lost your centerpiece of the defense. So, Alan, what do you make of that as I don't know how much of a neutral you can be, but as an Arsenal fan who suffered the day before against that man, I'm sure you felt Newcastle's pain more than anyone else.
I saw the results come in on my phone because I was at a wedding, but I did watch the game eventually, and just the chances that Newcastle had in the first half and not to take advantage of it, it just took them out of the game completely, in my opinion. They had 23 shots to 9, and then also 8 shots on target to 4, and they couldn't convert any of one of those. It's just I think Newcastle shot themselves in the foot by not scoring any of those chances, and then it just gave Liverpool life. You go 1-0 into the second half, and this is a Liverpool team that is pretty much for the core has stuck together from winning the Champions League to the Premier League to now. So there's a bunch of veterans on that team that that know what to do in these situations. So, and they did it. They got the 2-1 win. So,
yeah, it was huge. I never saw that coming. I'll be honest with you. And when it was 1-1, I was like, cool, I'll take this.
Yeah.
It was really, I still think away Newcastle at St. James Park is one of the toughest fixtures in the league. Like you were talking about it earlier, Shay, how good of a team they are. So a draw was not a bad result at all, especially given the circumstances. When you get a win out of that, it's even 10 times. But Alan says Grobbelaar was the same. Fun fact, Grobbelaar is actually how I ended up rooting for Liverpool. The spaghetti legs, those penalties is basically what lured me to Liverpool as a kid way back in the day. I'm not going to say how long ago, but it's too goddamn long ago. I can tell you that. Dom says, well, credit goes to Liverpool and club. I think Eddie Howe just proved that he's a good manager, but not a top-class manager. Newcastle should have gone for the throat. So, Shay, we're assuming Eddie Howe is the manager because there's always a dude in his pockets.
Yeah, they also have the other guy there.
The only team that probably they put the rule in, I assume, for Newcastle alone. First of all, what the hell is that dynamic? And, how do you look at it as a Villa fan? I can't stand the dude and his shushing. Came like, yes, 84 wrong, Dom. You didn't have to give the damn year and throw our age under the bus over here. I was trying to keep that number out of the records on purpose, but yes, God damn it. I was a kid then, in my behalf. In my defense, I was a little kid. So let's go with that. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's it's crazy. So like I said, I've talked about this before, is, growing up in American sports, you have your assistant head coach is also a very important part of your team. I think people in Europe just aren't comfortable with that fact because your manager is the main one. Like, you have a whole staff, but it's just he's almost like he's the one coaching everybody, and not Eddie Howe. And I kind of put it to the way, like, even when Steven Gerrard was there, when we had what was the guy's name? His second in command that was there with him at Rangers. As soon as he left to go take that QPR job, you see how bad Steven Gerrard did. He was lost. So I think Eddie Howe's kind of in that same position. If that guy ever does leave, I think we will see the rails kind of fall off because he's always constantly in the box. And like you said, they made up that new rule strictly for them. There's no other team, 2 other people in the box at all times. So I think it's him running the team kind of thing. Like, he's doing all the work in the background, just like how Steven Gerrard and the other guy was working. So I do find
you always see them like ask questions, talk on the time, look at the tablet together, look at the clipboard together and stuff like that. But I've never seen a guy this active. Even when Arteta and his Lego head was at City, he would talk with Pep and he would like suggest him something, but you never saw like Arteta running around the place.
No, he was always on the bench waiting for Pep to come acknowledge him first, not the other way.
Yeah.
And this guy, like you said, shushing Jurgen Klopp, which I thought is hilarious. Like, it's great trolling and great banter just because, like, Klopp's going to get riled up because he's very, like, it doesn't take a lot for him to get riled up. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. But I was also like, who is this guy to be the one doing this? Like,
so, okay, before I go to Alan, because I was going to ask him about the whole, like, coaching thing, especially since we brought up Arteta now. But, Shay, like, as you watch that and you see that dynamic, when the game ends like that, do you say serves you guys right? Or do you say,
absolutely.
Like, what is your like feeling once you obviously as soon as you laughed a lot, you kind of got
so it's like the meme that's going around. It's like anything. You talk shit, you're gonna get hit. You F around, you find out. Like, that's what happens, man. You can't talk that shit and not back it up. So like it was karma. And how Alan said, like, you should have not let the gas up. Because really, if they were smart, and that's why I agree with that comment, he's a great manager, but not world class. World class manager would have kept telling Anthony Gordon to keep pestering Trent Alexander. Yes. He had him on skates. Like, he was looking for that second yellow and he would have been off. Y'all would have been down to 9 men. Yep. He did not attack him, and he was able to basically quiet him the entire second half.
He took off Gordon, right?
Yeah, they took him off, and I was like, why? Yeah, somebody attacking somebody. So it was kind of dumb.
And I don't even know if like Klopp's. I mean, obviously, it's kind of worked. It was some substitutions in the sense that we put in 2 forwards that love space and that can take advantage of space in Jota and Nunez, as opposed to Gakpo, who's I guess strength is more than like operating in tight spaces and stuff like that. But yeah, I felt like they kind of felt it almost like the same thing happened in the Bournemouth game. Once again, we hustled an opponent into thinking the game is over and they got it. And that's how like Newcastle played. But what do you say about this whole assistant manager thing? Doesn't Arteta wish he could be like this when Pep was around? Or he was around Pep?
No, I think Arteta always sat down, just like Shay said. Like, he was waiting for Pep to come in and acknowledge him and talk to him, and they would both like interact with each other. It'd be like this, like one would be sitting like this, and the other one will also be like this, like that to each other. Arteta's current assistant manager is also kind of like very animated. Albert I had to pull it up because I always forget his name, but his first name is Albert and his last name is Stuivenberg. He's Dutch, but we call him headphones because he's always wearing like Apple headphones all the time. But
a different game, like
yeah. So he's always sitting at the bench, but you always see him like a little bit animated. Not as Tyndall, and Tyndall is just annoying and dumb. And I think it's true. As soon as Tyndall leaves, like Howe is in trouble.
It's just a weird dynamic that we're not used to. I mean, it looks odd. Like my brother does not watch as much Premier League, definitely not Newcastle. So I pointed out to him, and then like at the end of the game, he was like, "Yeah, what is up with that?" Like, because it just looks odd, and you don't see it anywhere else. Yeah, but Tony to Villa next January, Shay says Alan. Is that a wet dream or what is that?
I don't know, but that was I mean, I know our history with Brentford, but I don't think we would go after him. I don't think he fits that mold for Emery. I mean, I would love to have a striker of his ability. It truly depends on what Ollie Watkins does. He is an Arsenal fan. There's no hiding it. He's said that before when we bought him. So if he renews his contract, I get it. If he wants to leave, thank you for everything you've done. $75 million minimum. Might as well capitalize on this market. We're no longer the pushover. No more buying our players for cheap and going off and doing whatever. I don't know. It's tough to say. I think he's still a good striker. Chelsea should have gone after him, even though he's banned for 6 months. But that's what they're missing. And even Spurs, honestly, he would have been a great replacement for Harry Kane. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Do you guys think the 6 months scared people off?
No.
Or
that's 6 months for him to work out and not come back fresh. I think a lot of soccer fans and stuff too is oh, he hasn't played. I was like, yeah, but he's working out for 6 months.
Yeah.
Unless he isn't.
It's not like he's home eating pizza and chips.
Yeah, there's no way he's doing that. He's gonna come back and for viewers listening, he bet on himself, like Pete Rose. Truly, I don't see anything wrong with that. He wasn't betting on his team to lose. He was like, hey, I'm gonna score a goal today. I want that kind of confidence and cockiness in your striker because that's their job. It's just, you can't bet on yourselves that every team has a betting sponsor on their effing jersey. So,
yes. Yeah, we talked about the hypocrisy of the being really against betting, but taking their money anyway. Kind of
yes.
We'll take their money, but we don't want them around kind of a deal. So let's Ellen wants a bet for that.
Want a bet? Yeah.
I want Ivan Toney to come to the Arsenal. So
yep.
Yeah. You guys got Kai Havertz, so why don't you just deal with that for the time being? No, you guys sold Kai Havertz, actually. That was an experiment that went downhill. Is Jesus back in? I saw his whiny face come in the last 5 minutes over there, but is he back for good? Is he?
I think he is. I think it kind of shocked me too that he was up for selection and he was on the bench and came on for those 5 minutes. But I think word on the street is that he's going to be on the field on Sunday against United. So I think.
So was it a matter of him not being ready for 90 minutes yet, kind of thing? Or
I think so. I think if he comes in on Sunday, he'll be in for 60 to 70 minutes, and then he'll come off. I think the surgery that he had was clearly successful. If he's already on the field after 3 weeks after it. So
I was hoping more for a cosmetic surgery so it doesn't look so whiny all the time, but one can always dream. One can always
you know what? Arsenal takes in all those sad looking players. We got Trossard who's got sad eyes. We got Ozil as well, we had Ozil, I should say, who also has sad eyes. It's sad eyes FC sometimes, and I guess we'll take that.
It's good to have it built in, I guess, in a way to get him ready for everything. So let's go back to that Newcastle Liverpool game because you can't talk enough about Liverpool's comeback. No, more than that, I want to talk to you guys about the cards and stuff like that because obviously, as Liverpool fans, we're gonna have a certain bias, and I think the bias. As we talk more and more about it since the game and the post-match and the morning coffee shows or the Monday night podcast and stuff like that, I think the issue always comes back to the inconsistency. I think let's start with the whole Van Dijk thing because the other one is a total different chapter I want to talk to you guys about. But Shay, you see that? Do you think it's a red card? And do you think that is always a red card? Because I think that's more like the Liverpool. Because we feel like if that happens to Mo, and it does happen to Mo, the other team never gets the red.
Yeah. So, I think we all know and everybody knows that the FA or PMGO is one of the worst organizations. Truly, these refs have been awful for the last 2 years. They always come out and say, whatever. Then you got Mike Dean coming out saying, yeah, I basically won't call it because my friend's up there and I don't want him getting yelled at. F that. It's tough to say because truly, like I said, when you're the last offender, I've grown up playing the game. That's always an automatic red. That's the laws. It's just the referees pick and choose what they want. And I think it's consistent with it's all with the fair teams. They're always going to be biased in a sense. But like how you're saying, the time, this new cards for time wasting. My biggest example is that Liverpool match when Tomiyasu got sent off. He literally did nothing to get that first yellow. That was all Kai Havertz, who was holding onto the ball the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
He gets that first yellow for time wasting. He threw the ball in within 2 seconds when he received it. He gets that yellow. Then he gets a second one and gets sent off when it should have been his first. And that was
that was Kai throwing him under the bus, right?
Yeah, that was throwing him under the bus. But how the ref is we're just gonna give this to you. I think they want to act tougher, and it's fine because some of these players are chirping at them, and I get it. You don't want to be constantly yelled at, but that's their job. That's the only thing they got to do is ref the game properly. So we'll see. It's still early, but it's been absolute ass. So I'm not confident in the refereeing for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole time wasting thing. I mean, I think we can all agree that's not very subjective. That
Yeah.
Trent is fouled
Mhm.
or he being shoved out of bounds, like literally
Yeah.
pushing the back. He's sitting on his ass. He flicks the ball away. I understand if that's by rule, you're going to show the yellow.
Yep.
But literally 30 seconds later, there's a foul right over there. I can't remember if it's against Trent or if against Matip. And Gordon kicks the ball away, like literally kicks it away.
And that should have been yellow. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Like I said,
guess
it's
like the biggest issue is the inconsistency. Then you go back afterwards, like last week, I believe it was, or maybe the first week, Trent got a yellow for taking the throw in late. This game, towards the end of the game, he celebrated a throw in against Newcastle in the corner over there with the fans and stuff. Literally 25, 30 seconds, I think that whole thing took because he was so happy because we were trying to kill the game off. And he doesn't get anything because he already has a yellow. Is it just that they made, I mean, the feeling I get, Alan, is that they made this rule. They want to make it the focus. So they kind of throw it out there, fill the quota, and say, we showed it again this week. Let the record show.
Mhm.
And then they go back to refereeing like how they normally do.
Yeah. They'll show it like in the first few minutes of the game and then like completely forget about it as the game gets closer to the end. Like it's not consistent at all. Even the Tomiyasu one, I didn't even notice that's what happened. Like
if you go back and watch out, like literally, like because I watched it 2 or 3 times. My dad and I were watching it, and I was like, they literally sent him off for the biggest BS.
Yeah.
Kai had the ball the entire time. We counted it. It was almost like a full 45 seconds. And like, hey, Tomiyasu, come take it. So he runs over there, grabs the ball, and is literally getting ready to throw it, and the ref's like, yellow. And then 2 minutes later, which it was a foul on IU, but he's like, all right, second yellow, you're off. And I'm like,
yeah, I mean that's what I was. I was very confused when that second yellow came out. And he was sent off. I was just like,
yeah,
wait,
it was instant.
Yeah, it was super instant. I didn't realize.
I will say Kai Havertz should have got sent off because he was being a little bitch the entire game because he literally went after Tomiyasu got sent off. Almost 2 minutes later, he went and fouled IU again, and it was literally a very nasty challenge. I was like, "You're kidding me!" Didn't get a single yellow the whole time. I was like, "This is ridiculous."
If you
like they want to, focus on players betting, I was like, that ref obviously had some bets.
He had Kai Havertz on his fantasy team. That's why he kept him.
Exactly.
He didn't want the negative points. Yeah, so this says I think Trent wasn't already on. I think so. Like if he doesn't get a yellow there, I think he definitely gets a yellow for celebrating a throw-in at the end. If he doesn't have a yellow there, I think he gets a yellow for kind of like pulling back Gordon to stop a counter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it was like 3 minutes later or something like that. And that's like the double standard there. They do not do that. And yeah, it says, let's be honest, Trent should have gone. Van Dijk subjective, but it was a foul. And that's another one, like Joe Linton, who goes around like literally just beating up people. He's the guy that I hated playing against because all he is there is like the enforcer in hockey. All he is there is just to beat people up. And he was doing it foul after foul after foul. And nothing was happening. I remember, Shay, when we had you in the morning, you were complaining about Fabinho not getting yellows.
Oh, yeah. He was definitely like, I watched it. I was almost like playing a game. Like I told you, like I would have been hammered if I would have played that match. Like, he was constantly fouling. And they're like, oh, it's fine. It took them to like the 80th minute to finally get a yellow. And our guys are getting yellows every 2 seconds, and they did nothing. I was like, bro.
Is it like bias against certain players? Is it something that the refs have built in? Like you see Fernandinho was like, yes, he was just vintage
he
for
was
doing. And I'm all for, especially a CDM, doing smart tactical fouls that are kind of like, no harm, no foul. You guys keep going. The ball is yours anyway, kind of a thing. So I'm all for that. Fernandinho was the master of that. And I think Fabinho was real good at that as well. And yeah, that will drive another team nuts because it is a foul and it's repeated. But he's not doing it in the sense that it's not a pull, it's not a hard foul or whatever.
Yeah,
but he
knows
exactly what he's
going to have, you over fouls. But then, like you said, like if you want to follow the books after your fourth or fifth one, you have to be consistent. Like you can't do it the whole match. Like otherwise, then he's just going to get away with it, and one's going to be bad and end up hurting somebody. We don't want that. Like we want to see everybody healthy for the whole season. It makes the sport better. Like I don't want somebody to get hurt and like, damn, now we don't get to watch this player play. So,
yeah, I think it's only been like 3. Will players now get a yellow for wasting time celebrating a goal? I'm not sure because I think that's being added now. I mean,
Yeah, I
there's
think
certain
that
things
is
like taking your shirt off and stuff, but since that's being added now, whereas that, they're not saying, oh, you're taking a throw in late, I'm adding like 20 seconds kind of a deal. They show a yellow card. I think they used to say, it was the classic, right? If the goal didn't go, the goal kick, like the ref would show the watch, like, I'm adding this, which they never freaking would add it. So they were like, yeah, whatever. And they would take like 30 seconds to take the goal kick. Whereas in those now, they are adding them, but the throw-in is not being added, for example. So supposedly they're showing a yellow for that. And I'm all for it because it will, we don't want time wasted. We want the game flowing, but it's just not. We got so much other important, big, major things that we can't be inconsistent with. To expect consistency out of this is probably exceeding expectations over here. But so we got a couple of weeks left over here in the transfer markets. I kind of wanted to get your guys' take on this thing. Nunez today signed with City. I don't know if it's official. I know the verbal agreement and everything was there. I don't know if he has the picture yet or we have the here we go yet or whatever. But the whole like semi holding out and stuff, we talked about it this morning with John on the morning show. But Shay, what do you think of that? As obviously it's different. We had the same thing, like Van Dijk did the same thing when he was trying to go to Liverpool. I think if they're trying to come to your team, you're like, oh, good, this kind of helps us.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's a really shitty situation for the team that is trying to get the most out of the sale, number one, and two, losing the player for good.
Yeah, it's always a catch-22. It really is because you want the player, and you're going to do everything you want him to do it. But like the player's throwing a temper tantrum, you signed a contract that goes for even my team. Like you either honor the contract that you have signed or you hold out. Like that's the whole reason the Bosman rule was introduced. Like that's fine, play your 2 years. But then also, who was it? Was it in a different league where they, basically said like, oh, I want to leave, but they wanted to hold out for the money. And I was like, the club has to get paid because now with the amount of money that these players are going for and how much it costs to buy other players, like the game has changed. So actually, I was reading it today. The guy that plays for Frankfurt, their striker, the French guy, PSG, and he just said he was like, hopefully they'll let me go because I want to go there. I was like, well, you're signed to a longer deal. They have no right. They have no reason to sell you. You can throw a temper tantrum all you want, but they're going to want that money. And I know PSG is going to be good for it in a sense, but he has to honor his contract. And I don't think you should throw a temper tantrum like that because like Nunez did that. And I get it. Wolves are an absolute disaster. So like, it's tough. Like when the team, is going to go under kind of thing. I get it, but he should also be like, hey, I want to go, but make sure you get the money for me kind of thing. Like make sure the club gets paid in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, because they're the ones who, City didn't go after you initially. These guys did. These guys did roll the dice on you and showed you to City. Yep. I think it's to me, I don't know if fair or not, Alan. It's a different. I find it as a different story. By the way, Sir Z says, I wish Joel Matip would go on strike for us. How dare you? How dare you talk about Matip like that in his adventures? Where would we be? Plus, if it wasn't for like Matip's adventures. But Alan, I don't know if it's like just me, but I feel differently when a player has been there for 4, 5, 6 seasons and says, hey, I served you guys well, I've been loyal, and ask it in return, as opposed to Nunez's scenario where he's only been in a year. Basically, they brought you to the limelight over here. I expect that player to show a bit more loyalty and at least make sure Wolves gets what they want.
I kind of have the same feeling about Balogun, to be honest with you. He demanded a transfer as soon as he came back from loan, and he's yet to actually like feature in the Premier League at all for Arsenal, and for him to just come back from a decent loan spell, honestly, in France. I'm not going to take that away from him. He had like I think third most goals in the league, but to like demand starting time over Eddie, who has already been proven as a decent backup, and Gabriel, who is a Premier League winning striker, like. I don't see Balogun starting over those two, especially since he's not proven. So I think I see it the way Wolves is seeing it with Nunez. Like show some loyalty. You have a contract to this team. Like in Balogun's case, he signed a 4-year agreement before leaving on loan last year. So you sign something, like show that you're worth starting in that role. But yeah, we sold him to Monaco today, actually. So, but
on your point too, like I get that, like he wants to play, or he wanted that time, but then I'm also like, if he doesn't want to do it, there's no better. That's the better time to get rid of him. Get your money for him, let him go play somewhere. Because like it's for him, like he got the taste of starting for the U.S. So he's like, I'm good enough to be a starter for an international team, and he wants to play for his club team. But like how you said, he doesn't have the Premier League experience, so he threw that little temper tantrum, and Arteta, I think, handled it the right way. Yeah. I think he should at least been featured a couple games just to see what he had. But then he threw that whatever, and Arteta's
I think he was.
Cool, you're out.
He did feature in an MLS All-Star game, but after that, there was rumors that he was already like practicing on his own after that game. So I think he might have thrown a tantrum like behind the scenes, and like that was it. And Arteta was like, "Yeah, we'll just sell you." Like,
but to be a devil's advocate here, now that I totally flipped the other way and asked the question that way, let's play devil's advocate over here. If you are the dude, I think this is not the situation with Nunez, right? He's playing regularly. He is one of the top players on the team. Yeah. Whereas, your scenario there, he is not playing. He wants to play. So he wants to be able to go somewhere. He's like, either give me a chance or sell me to someone who will give me that chance. Yep. Especially with the World Cup looming, I feel like that's fair for a player to ask that if they are not getting regardless of the contract. I mean, when they sign the contract, I'm sure they're not like, and you're going to rot on the bench. Got it? Just sign right there. I mean, they're signing probably with the promises that we're going to do this, then you're going to practice with these guys, then you're going to play with these guys kind of a deal, especially like you're saying, like he did a good loan spell. It's not like, dude, you sucked over there. How are you going to play over here? Isn't that okay? Like, how much power should a player have? Because ultimately it is their career. It's a limited time, so, he has like 14, 15 years. If he's going to spend 2 years for Arsenal to loan him left and right and just kind of like dump him when he's 22, 23.
Yeah.
How much power should a player have? We don't want him to have Nunez power, but at the same time, it feels like they should be able to dictate a little bit of their career since it's a limited time.
No, I agree. I think from a player standpoint, they should be looking for the best, for the best option available to them. I think from a team standpoint, they would probably Arsenal would have rather have loaned him out again this season, and then grow his development in that way. And Balogun wants a permanent fixture. He wants to be either starting, for Arsenal all the time or starting somewhere else, wherever that may be. Even if that was, the rumor at one point was Chelsea. The other rumor was Tottenham. So eventually he's now at Monaco. So hopefully, for his sake, and I do occasionally root for the U.S. men's team, when I feel like it. But I hope that he does well. I hope he does well for them. So yeah.
And I don't know. I haven't seen the contract. They may have put in a buyback clause, like City does. Like after maybe a year or two, like we have first dibs, like not a full buyback, but like we get first.
They added a 17.5% sell-on clause.
So there you go.
Yeah. So
I mean, it could be if Chelsea gets him, that could be like that could be 20-30 million if he's going to Chelsea.
Like you got 30 million for doing nothing, and Chelsea over here spending
here you go
billions.
But I mean, for a player, I mean, I expect him to. I mean, going back to like Nunez, I don't blame Nunez for wanting to go into City, but there has to be a way to protect the club as well. But then you don't probably want the same scenario that, for example, Crystal Palace has with Doucouré with Liverpool, where they're shooting the price so high. I think to a certain extent, Southampton did the same thing with Lavia, where you're making the other team not walk away, taking the chance away from Doucouré. Because I mean, the amount they asked is just like obnoxious. We're like, okay, man, no thanks. Like, we'll be back next year where you just have the price back to what it should be. So, I mean, what is the perfect balance, you think, Shay? If I
think so in that aspect, they're fishing. They're like, who's stupid enough to pay it? Because truly, Caicedo's a really good midfielder. Is he worth $150 million US? Absolutely not. I think Brighton had Chelsea by the balls, and Chelsea are stupid enough to pay that money. Otherwise, like how you said, they could get him the next year. For the true evaluation, probably Brighton sees him at, but they're like, dude, these dumbasses bought Cucurella for us for $60 million. They bought all these other players. Like Trossard went for really dumb money for 1 year left on his contract. So like they know that these big six teams are desperate in a sense and they have money to blow, especially I keep harping on Chelsea, but they're going to be in the same situation in a couple years. You're signing these players to 7 to 8 year contracts. Who knows if all these players are going to pan out? They're on massive wages. Who's going to take them? Nobody. Yeah. Nobody wants these guys maybe 5 years in the contract when they still have 3 years left, getting paid $250,000.
I think Chelsea is counting on their friends in Saudi Arabia and their connections
100%.
over there.
Yeah.
They're going to just shift them over there at the end and be like, "Hey, look, a 28-year-old Cucurella," and then they're just gonna like send them over there for like $300,000 a week.
Potentially.
A 25-year-old Mudrick.
The comedy is going to be if the Saudi league says, "Oh, we got what we wanted. We're in the Champions League now," or something like that, and go back to your regularly scheduled programming, and that's when it's gonna, I think, blow up on Chelsea. But so, okay, before we get into the predictions over here for next week, let's take a look at the bottom of the league, laugh a little bit at Everton, and then I know it's kind of early in the books right now, but Shay, who are your early candidates to go back down?
Going back down. Let me look at the table really quick, and I will let y'all know. Definitely Luton. No diss on them. They don't have the money to do it. They're basically, hey, we made it. Let's use all this money to rebuild for next year because they didn't buy anyone. Them getting a new stadium is their main focal point and just to stabilize the club. I truly think they're going to go down, and that's going to be – it may be like Derby County a couple years ago. They don't win anything. It may be that bad, unfortunately. Everton, I don't know. I know that's y'all's biggest rival, but it's one of the stalwarts of the Premier League. They've been in it since inception. I would honestly like to love it, see it, just because they're the last team standing. We were it was between us and Everton. We got relegated. They were left. So to see them go down would be hilarious too. Just so then that every founder has been relegated. So that tells you how competitive the league is. But Sean Dyche, he plays just really gross freaking soccer. It's terrible to watch sometimes, but they'll
yes, it is.
He's gotta go.
I definitely think Luton. I think Wolves, just because they're an absolute, they can't keep a coach longer than 6 months. And then I'm gonna go a toss up between Burnley and Bournemouth. I think Vincent Kompany is a really good young coach. It's just that they don't have any quality on that team yet. It's gonna take time.
I don't know if Burnley is eventually going to say, you know what, to stick around, we might have to tighten up this a little bit and not play so open. I mean, those are the 2 games with only 2 games on there. Everton has not scored a goal yet, so just a moment of silence for their attacking. It is a big game. It sounds odd, but Dom says big game this weekend with Sheffield United and Everton. And I know it's really early in the season, but man, I mean, I know I can't remember what week it was, and it looked like Forest was dead in the water, but they were able to climb their way out. I just don't know if Everton or any of these, Everton, Luton Town, like you mentioned, have the resources, and the potential to be able to climb themselves out of it. Alan, who do you have as of now that are looking dangerous?
Honestly, with all the turmoil that's going up at Wolves, I can see them go down. I can also see Bournemouth go down, and Luton for sure. Everton, I think they're going to fire Dyche and get someone that can actually coach a team, to some kind of decent football. They'll escape. They'll barely escape. Sheffield United is also up there in my mind of going down, but maybe they can keep up another season. And
at least they've scored goals. You got to give them that. I mean, Everton, Sean Douche, that's the biggest problem. That's like an ultimate marriage over there of the guy I hate coaching Everton now. But, it's a disgusting brand of soccer to watch, first of all. And then
that's horrible.
Normally you would think, like Alan says, Sheffield United and Everton could be a 0-0 draw. I don't know, because Sheffield can score. I mean, you can see them, especially at home, I believe that fixture is, getting something out of that. And if that happens, I don't know which way. I mean, they barely beat Doncaster today. I don't know how Beto will do for them, because that's one thing they're missing. They just got to be able to get goal. I mean, some of the things they missed last week is just I'll
probably end up rooting for Sheffield just because we sold Cameron Archer there, one of our youth players. So I'm hoping he will score for them, and then we buy him back. So I'll be rooting for Sheffield in that aspect. Villavoy should be starting up for them, and if he can torch Everton like we did last week, it'll be hilarious.
Okay, let's do some predictions over here. Let's go with your. Obviously, we have Liverpool with Villa. Who is our? Oh, the big game of the week. Our game of the week is going to be Arsenal United. I mean, I might have to root for Arteta's Lego head this week because one thing I hate more than his head is United. What do you expect of this game? Like, how does last week affect Arsenal? Because I want to ask you guys the same question for like Liverpool with the Newcastle win, because it could go either way. But as an Arsenal fan, do you say that, oh, here we go again, the good old Arsenal, or do you think it's a little bump on the road?
It's a bump on the road. I think the team, hopefully, like last year when they lost or when they drew, they found a way to win most of the games after that. So, and I'm thinking with United, they're gonna be up for the challenge. They're gonna see that United is also, blood in the water, ready to be taken out. It's at home. It's a Sunday. It's the last game of the weekend. Let's just get it done. Let's just win. Hopefully 3-0. Bukayo Saka comes in, scores 2 goals. You got a Gabriel Jesus goal as well. It's just please.
I like how this started as very confident. It's just a blip on the road, and ended up with pleading for a win.
Well, because honestly, watching them, the moments of just bad play that they had, and this is on the players. I don't even think it's so much on the manager. The players themselves really shut off for 2 crucial moments, and those crucial moments led to goals. You can't do that against players like Anthony and Martial, or not Martial. Who else? Rashford. You can't
play Rashford.
Yeah. You can't do that against Rashford and Anthony. And the other Alan can tell me to keep dreaming for all I care about. All I know is that I want us to go in. I want us to go in on Sunday and win. And yeah, Onana is a clown, so hopefully we can score 3 on him. And I
do have Arsenal winning this as well. I think this is going to be an entertaining game to watch. I'm thinking like a 3-2 or something like that, because I don't think either of them. So do you think this is a hangover from the disappointment of last year, Alan? Because like I said, you started so confident, man. You were like, no, this is just a blip, and that's over. Then you were like, come on, man, last game of the week. So do you think is there a carryover from the disappointment of last year? Or maybe the overconfidence of we added this guy, we should be fine?
I think there's a little bit of a hangover. I didn't want to admit it at the first 2 games of the season. Now we got to that 3rd game. I'm like, yeah, there's a hangover here. These guys need to wake up. It's the last game before the international break. Let's get a win and go into that break just confident that we can, start winning multiple games in a row again.
I think you guys will be fine. Like I said, United's in shambles in a sense. I mean, unless the refs decide to give them their typical Bruno card. I mean, that's my only concern. So keep his ass locked up. I think you guys got that in the bag.
I think so. Okay, so you're going with Arsenal as well. Obviously, the other game of the week is going to have to be our game, Liverpool, Villa. Shay, do you think... I think the fact that it's Villa kind of helps Liverpool because it is a good team. Mm-hmm. I feel like if we played Luton Town after that game, it could almost be, looking past it and thinking you can ride the momentum. They have to know that they have to be on their game. Do you think that Newcastle game kind of acts like a trampoline and this team really starts, going back to where they were, or it was just kind of like when we beat City last year? I think we were talking about it this morning. We played Forest, I think, afterwards, or we played a team that was, not considered to be really strong. So it almost felt like we were we beat City, we'll beat these guys. Yep. I don't get that sense in this one just because of how the win came. But as a Villa fan, what kind of a Liverpool are you guys expecting?
I mean, with Van Dijk definitely going down, I think it'll be a little bit of a better matchup just because you're losing that stalwart of a defender. I think Ollie, depending on who you start, even not as a Liverpool fan, even when Joe Gomez got picked for England, I was never confident with him. He is a very shaky defender. He's not good. I think he definitely was overhyped. So if you guys end up starting him, Ollie will at least put pressure on him, it just comes down to will Ollie score because he's the most inconsistent striker I've ever seen. Truly, like he'll put goals in, but he cannot hit a barn door sometimes. I truly think that's the biggest positive on that. And like I said, for y'all in midfield, you're still figuring it out with ours now. Like we finally have a set trio, so I think Emery will keep the same team. And what I've noticed over the last couple of games, like we will not dominate possession. He's 100% counterattack and will absorb a lot of pressure. So obviously I would want the win, but to be realistic, I would take a draw in a heartbeat. Just keep the unbeaten streak going. Just don't give up really easy opportunities. I think sorry, the cat's in here. The only concern is I don't know if Emmy will be playing. He did sit out this last match, and if Olsen's in goal, then I'll go ahead and give you the W. Like I am not confident. By far one of the worst backups I've seen.
Do you think the last game, like Liverpool's last game, that comeback against Newcastle, in terms of morale, in terms of attitude or whatever, changes anything at all, or everything?
I think they'll have it's a huge win, and like anytime you have a comeback win like that, you're gonna have a high. But they also, I think Klopp realizes now, like, hey, I can't take Unai Emery and this team lightly anymore. And that's for like a lot of people, like just Unai in general, like he's a very good manager, regardless of what team he's at. I think they know that he's a master tactician. He is obsessed with it because like every time I like look on Twitter, like after a match, he is constantly watching tape for 7-8 hours. Like that is ridiculous. Like the man is legitimately obsessed with the sport and being really good at it. So I think that has made us
just get a better assistant manager like Eddie Howe does.
Yeah, I don't think we need one. There's Unai and Unai only. So like I said, obviously I want to win, but I'll take a draw 100%. And it also depends on who's in goal, truly, for me. So if Emmy plays, then I'll be more confident on the win. If it's not him, go for that. Go for 1 point, please.
Alan, who do you have in that game?
I just want to say that, I hated that Emery is good everywhere, but except when he coached Arsenal, he was a bad coach.
I think he was a great coach. Really.
Was he a bad coach, or was the team?
They were impatient.
It was bad everything. To be honest,
it was bad everything. Bad leadership and just impatient. Because two of my best friends are big Arsenal fans, and they even said it too. We loved him. It just wasn't the right time. And I think he proved himself.
Is it the kind of guy that does better at a team like Villa, at a team like Sevilla, like at a team where they're above average? There's a lot of good talents, and he can kind of elevate them. But when he goes to a top team, because Arsenal is not the only one.
Yeah, he did struggle at PSG.
Talent, and he has to rotate and stuff. The expectations are higher. He can't meet it because there are managers like that can't do that. It's a kind of totally different skill set. I honestly don't think Pep could come to Liverpool and duplicate what Klopp did. And honestly, I don't think Klopp could go to City and duplicate what Pep did, because they're just different kind of managers, different kind of like how to deal with personnel and stuff. So you think Emery was just not the right guy? Like if Emery came over now instead of Arteta and said, here, Lego, you get out of the way, I'm going to be here, you think he will do just as well?
No.
Or
none of these players would fit in his schemes at all. This is a more like Arteta Emery likes to sit back and counterattack. This team is more possession based and attacking based than that.
Yep.
But let's just go back to Liverpool versus Villa. I think this is going to be a really good game. This is Villa that's on the up from a 3-1 or 3-0 victory.
It was 3-1 against Burnley.
3-1, yeah. And then Liverpool coming from 10-man down and winning 2-1 is impressive. They're both going to be up for it. They're both going to battle it out. I think we're going to see like a 2-2 draw, or it'll be a squeaker between one out of the two teams, 3-2. But I think if it's a victory that we're looking for, I think Liverpool is going to come out on top.
Yeah, I think so. Cersei says Pep will can't have success at Liverpool because this guy didn't work. Get me another $70 million right back kind of a deal. It's not going to work because he's not going to be able to take the risk that he does at City. That's for sure. I have a lot of faith, and I hope I'm proven right on this, but I really think that last game was a positive turning point compared to what's happened against City last year when we won that game and we're like, oh, they're back. But I think this is different just because it was more of a making of a team moment, because this is a total different team. It's a total different squad in many ways. So I think they kind of ride that positive. I hated playing against Emery. I really do. Because I think he knows how to set up against Liverpool. He's shown it before. But I'm almost semi-happy that it's a team of the caliber of Villa we're playing against, because I feel like we'll be, especially knowing from how we started the Bournemouth game and what happened last game, I feel Liverpool will take this game more seriously and be more focused from the get-go. And that's another hope I have, is that because Van Dijk is not there, I'm hoping we're almost paying extra attention defensively, and that pays off. Kind of like what happened when we went down to 10 men. Everybody kind of adds an extra 10%. They know they have to. I'm hoping we almost start like, or maybe we just take a guy out and start with 10 guys so they're more like comfortable in this system. So as always, I need a surprise prediction for next weekend. Shay, let's start with you. Give me a score that you think. Let's put the games over here. Luton, West Ham, Sheffield, Everton. Everton scoring a goal, for example, would count as one surprise. City, Fulham, Chelsea, Forest, Burnley, Tottenham, Brentford, Bournemouth, Brighton, Newcastle, Palace, Wolves, Liverpool, Villa, Arsenal, United.
So I'm going to go either between Burnley and Spurs, and then can you scroll back up just a little bit?
Oh, scroll back up.
Yeah. And then maybe Nottingham Forest somehow pulling the upset against Chelsea and just adding to Chelsea's misery would be absolutely hysterical. But I can see Burnley getting that first win. I mean, we just saw Spurs lose to whoever they played in the League Cup, so they are obviously rattled. So maybe Burnley pulling off the 1-0 upset, maybe 2. They finally get those goals in. So
Sir Z says Chelsea 0, Forest 1.
I would love to see it. It'd be hilarious.
I do have that Burnley game is going to be very entertaining, just based on the style those two teams play in. So out of all those games, that's probably the one I would tune into for the 9 a.m. games. And obviously Brighton Newcastle should be a fun game to watch as well. I don't know if either one would be a surprise, because so it's hard to pick that game as a surprise. I think Burnley win would be a surprise, and I'm kind of like leaning towards that way. Brighton, Newcastle, Brighton can bounce right back up, and we know how good Newcastle is. It's going to be interesting to see how Newcastle responds to this, what Eddie Howe's assistant does in this comeback. Alan, give me a surprise for next week.
Fulham is going to escape the Etihad with a draw.
I like that.
I can
really?
see.
I like the sound of that. That's for sure.
1-1.
They took a point from you guys, or do you?
No, I think Fulham's been playing good teams lately, and they've been able to squeak out draws whenever they can. So, they did it against Arsenal. They did it in the Carabao Cup against Tottenham, and then I can see them doing it to City. So we'll see. And then
I'm all for that. I mean, I'm all for City losing points. We all are, I think, to make things a bit more interesting over here.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Like I said, it's still early in the season, but we're starting to get better ideas about teams as they play different matchups and stuff like that. And hopefully, once this transfer window is over, we'll know who the hell is around. Of course, then there'll be 3 weeks of who are the Saudis interested in headlines going around all over the place. Do you expect Arsenal to make a move in the next, 40 hours or whatever the hell it is?
The only move I thought they could have made was for Fati, and Fati's already gone to Brighton. So I saw rumors for Fati lately to Arsenal, but I don't see. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of selling going on for Arsenal. I think Holding's gotta go. We already sold Balogun. We sold Tavares. I think Tierney's gone as well. So I think Holding's got to go.
A flop of an experiment, huh?
What was that?
Tierney was a flop of an experiment, huh?
I don't think so. I just think he doesn't fit Arteta's play style. I think he's a good defender, but Arteta wants inverted fullbacks that can play the midfield role. That's why
that's the only thing Pep taught him. He's like, the boss says we gotta play like this. Yeah, no, I don't hate Arteta that much. Just as
I know.
Shay, any moves from Villa in the next 40 hours or so?
I think Coutinho's finally gone. I love him to death, but that's been an absolute bust.
Where's he going now? Where's Coutinho now?
Some team in Qatar wants him, and they're going to pay us enough to where we don't have to pay Barcelona, which is, to me, a win in the books. Anytime Barcelona gets screwed over, love it. To hell with that club. They're such a greaseball of a club, and I hate them so much for it. But I think some Qatari club was looking to bring him in for like 20, right under 20 million. Fair enough. That's 20 million extra. Like I said, we sold a couple of these youth kids, which is pure profit for us. I do think we need an extra right back. I don't think Matty Cash can last the entire year, and we just need competition for him. And then I would say with Coutinho leaving, Emi Buendia being hurt, we have no true creative attacking midfielder. I know they brought in Zaniolo to do that, but the dude's like 6'3", like he's a striker. That guy's too big to be playing the whole security.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing, I want to say, like, when he was in Galatasaray last season, he was playing mostly on the wing.
Yeah.
Like, attacking. And he was solid. It's
no
a huge
Gomez to Villa, seriously.
Okay. Galatasaray to, playing for Villa. And I think it's different, too, because when he was playing for Galatasaray, he was playing against, he might do better in the sense that he might take advantage of his speed more. Because when you play for Galatasaray, Fenerbahçe, one of those teams in Turkey, you're always playing against packed defenses where there's no room behind. I think he will find that room over here. Hopefully not this weekend. Ideally.
I thought you make this weekend, which would be great. So I know with him, if he plays a certain amount, we have to buy him, which I think Emery kind of wants him. It's just, I mean, the kid's 22, 23, already had 2 big-time knee surgeries, so it's always a risk, but we'll see what happens. So I think at least maybe 1 or 2 ins, but hopefully a couple outs. Like, I know the squad's pretty thin, but if somebody takes
good old
pitches out, I'm okay.
Used to be my favorite guy, and I know it was Layla's favorite guy to watch when we were when they really started playing soccer and watching and stuff like that, and was my favorite player. But the whole faking back pain kind of thing. Hey, I mean, we're all thankful to him. Somebody was mentioning in the comments earlier about when we were talking about Villa converting that cash, West Ham converting that cash. We converted that money to Alisson and Van Dijk, and it has panned out pretty darn good. So we're thankful for him for his back pains for that. I guess that's about it. But yeah, I was watching him. I thought actually he got hurt last time I watched him.
But he did. Yeah, he literally came in and pulled his hamstring. So I was like, you know what? I'm done with this experiment. Like, we can't have this player get hurt all the time. Like, he's got to either just I'm done. Like, come to the MLS and just do what he wants to do here, or go somewhere else. Like, I appreciate it. I would like to sit with you. He was one of my favorite players to watch. Like, the guy was legit magic. Like, he had the skill. It's almost like the Hazard situation. They get old and they can't do it anymore, and it's sad to see because we miss those days. Like, it's crazy how there's going to be kids that grow up and they're going to see Coutinho and Hazard be like, oh, these are old guys and they suck. I was like, no, when they were at their prime, they were elite, and it was so fun to watch. So it sucks.
Coutinho definitely was he was a magician, and it was fun to watch, but kind of did it himself. So
they all
thank you for his services for bringing Alisson and Van Dijk in, though, as always. Well, gentlemen, thanks a lot. Thanks to all those following us live today. Hit those buttons underneath this video over here to subscribe. Every Wednesday night we'll be here, and let's see who we have on the panel next week. But I am kind of liking things are heating up as we keep going more and more and more. So, and Alan knows how much I love Arteta weekly at the show. Good old time. Well, thanks a lot as always. Thanks to all those listening. Give us a like, give us a share, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Yep. See ya.
See ya.